Alright, sorry for that hitch right there. This is still Daybreak Africa on television Nigeria. We were trying to take you through our newspaper review segment before we experienced that hitch. So we'd like to continue in that same light. We're taking a look at headlines from the Guardian newspaper, and then we have this banner headline with the caption, Coronavirus put flood electricity tariff hike to test. Genco's threatening suit over delay. Disco's government discuss poor services supply cost. Senate urges Buhari to bear cost of deferred hike. Operators deny lobbying NAS, putting sector in debt. And then above that, we have rising COVID-19 cases may induce more hardships. Federal government wants. That story can be found on the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And beside that, government abduct over 30 passengers in Nasarawa, very close by here. What's happening? Still talking about insecurity or security challenges, as you may want to put it. You can actually look that up on the page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And then we have this sad report here concerning Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State. Akeredolu test positive for COVID-19 recount experience. That's still on the page 5. And then no work, no pay. Cross River government tells striking workers. And that's quite surprising coming from Cross River, because that state has actually been one that has been putting the welfare of workers first. And all right, below the picture story, schools resumption faces new hurdles as stakeholders raise issues on safety guidelines. We were actually talking about this,
yes,
how we'd actually go about maybe having to restructure the sitting arrangement of the pupils of students in these schools, where they will have a social distancing in place and they not put stress on facilities.
Yes, and there should be washing hand and basins there for the students.
And soaps, and then
hand
sanitizers and
face masks.
All right, you can pick a copy of the Guardian newspaper to take a look at the details of these stories we brought your way and even more.
All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning. The headline here, Minister, lawmakers clash over plan to recruit 774,000. Probably the headline is incomplete.
That's talking about this intending scheme that's been projected to be to employ 1,000 people per local government.
Okay.
And then we have 774 local governments in the country.
So we want to see how that will actually be positive and possible. Above the nameplate, anxiety in Ondo as Akeredolu test positive to COVID-19. That's on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Below the picture nameplate, $2.5 billion AKK gas pipeline to feed 4 states, Abuja. President turns SOD of project to be completed in 24 months. Above that, Lawan to discuss meeting before tariff hike. Osimhen opens transfer talks with Napoli. That's on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And I'll take this one. Governors will mobilize for Ize-Iyamu. INEC poll will be cancelled if violent. Talking about violence during the polls and then COVID-19. There are a lot happening.
A lot is actually happening.
All right, that's all for the Nation newspaper this morning.
Let's take a quick look at headlines from the Daily Times. And we have this story concerning Festus Kayamo and NASA members are seen shouting yesterday. You can check that out on the page 2 of the Daily Times. And then minister accuses lawmakers of an attempt to hijack 774,000 SPW recruitment process. Dares NAS other state committees to proceed with SPW recruitment exercise. Lawmakers walk out Kayamo for unruly attitude. A whole lot actually happened at the plenary yesterday, and I think I was somewhere last night and somebody was talking about that. So you can pick a copy of the Daily Times to get the details of proper insight to what transpired at the tech chambers of the National Assembly yesterday. Below that, Imo pensioners issued 7-day ultimatum to Uzodinma over pension arrears. COVID-19, Gombe discharges 350, records 19 deaths. Polio Communication appoint Dr. Onuma Popo as editor and editorial board. All right, let's take a look at headlines we have below the picture story. FG moves to recover 5 years term duty backlog. You know, something happened with the stamp duty issues, especially from some financial institutions, some banks across the weekend, and people were actually talking about it. But somebody told me yesterday, I think that has to do with Access Bank, and somebody told me yesterday the money has been refunded. But I don't know, maybe that's actually part of what the government is trying to talk about. Right, COVID-19 anxiety has occurred to direct cabinet to undergo compulsory test. Bagudu urges citizens to key into FG's post-COVID-19 economic program. You can take a copy or pick a copy of the Daily Times to get the details of all of this and even more.
All right, moving to the Punch newspaper this morning. The big headline here, NMA, NUT knock federal government over order to reopen schools. We can't resume. We don't want to die. Teachers tell federal government. That's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Obviously, nobody wants to die. Beside that, Ekiti reopens schools July 20, worship centers July 17. Alleged rape, IG orders probe of the Banj. The Banj accusers arrests. Wike invites Buhari hails 8.9 billion naira return to Rivers State. Still below the picture nameplate here. CP orders manhunt for Okada men who killed Lagos businessman. Talking about justice trying to surface after the death of that businessman. We read the news yesterday. We read it yesterday. Above the nameplate, Wadume, family of slain cops sues federal government. Killer captain this week. That's on page 7 of the Punch newspaper, and you can get a hold of that and more stories on the Punch newspaper this morning. You
know, talking about that issue of our River State governor, the person of Governor Nyesom Wike, hailing President Muhammadu Buhari
for the return of certain amount of money.
Yeah, I think that story actually connotes what happened in Kogi State, where they actually refunded some amount of money to Kogi State government after the government of the state claimed or have actually submitted a report that they used some money to rehabilitate some federal government, some federal roads. And so many people were talking about, okay, why Kogi? Because it was quite sensitive. The timing was sensitive because it was very close to Kogi election. So many people were actually reading meanings to it. But with this coming to Rivers State, and then somebody was talking about the sagacity of Nyesom Wike, where today you see him this way, next time you see him
like this.
But that's to show that maybe he stand firm with his belief and his thought, and then he doesn't compromise that for anything. But
I think he generally is not a biased person.
Extending his invitation to President Muhammadu Buhari is quite a good one, and then talking about, okay, the River State that ready and willing to partner with the federal government to make sure that the development of Nigeria is kept paramount. Like it's good one. That's something we love to see.
Yes. More with other governors.
Irrespective of the political affiliations or leanings, we just need to see how we can more collaborative effort from government officials, because that we will actually charter a very big way for our development.
You know, the more we're united, the more there's liberty, and the more there will be progress and strength.
Exactly. All right. Headlines from the Nigerian Tribune above the nameplate: Discos shift tariff increase to 2021. Subsidized electricity for Nigerians, Senate tells FG. That can be found on the page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Besides that, confusion over FG's plan to concession for airports. It's crime against Nigerians. That is coming from unions. Which of the unions? Pick a copy of the Nigerian Tribune to find out. FIRS remit 66 billion naira stamp duty into federation account. That story is still on the page 3. And at the mention of FIRS, we all know what comes to minds of Nigeria. They have actually registered themselves in the minds of Nigeria as one department that's actually been generating a whole lot of revenue for the country. All right, the banner headline we have from the Nigerian Tribune says 774,000 jobs. Senators Kenyamo in war of words. Senators accuse him of lopsided composition of committees. You can't give directive to executive, Kenyamo. Politicians blackmail me, want program handed over to them, he alleges. That story can be found on the page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. And now I'll just take this last one. Okay, two more before we move on to the next paper. Naira Marley, NCAA bans use of private jet for charter desperation. All right, that can be found on page 25 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then Jonathan's government reps grill accountant general over 1.819 trillion naira extra budgetary spending. NSA got 36.4 billion to construct dam. 31.3 billion naira paid into political appointees account, and then 2.8 billion naira approved for hand sanitizers. That can be found on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune, and that does it for this particular publication.
All right, moving to the Daily Sun newspaper this morning, there's this interesting headlines here. No plans to reopen universities, orders, says PTF.
Wow.
You can get a hold of that on page 27 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Buhari, NAS, stop electricity tariff hike. This is all buzzing on all headlines this morning. Senate discourse urge federal government to subsidize power. Below the picture nameplate, federal government workers set for showdown over airport concession. NLC, TUC, ULC vow to join aviation unions for indefinite strike. Above the nameplate, Southeast governors Ohaneze set up Igbo Development Fund. I think we read something in correspondence to this on Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
On the headlines. I'll take this last one. Why we are not getting free, fair elections. That's coming from Yakubu and Ekwerimadu. You can get a hold of that on page 27 and see the reasons for saying why Nigerians are not getting free and fair elections. And that does it for the Daily Sun newspaper.
All right, and now we take a look at Business Day newspaper. We take it from top to the bottom. New electricity tariff postponement means more trouble for economy. That's one area we've not actually looked at it from. We've actually been looking at, okay, how to cushion maybe the hardship that will place on Nigerians. But the economic implications, we didn't see
what's happening now.
Okay, and then we still have the banner headline still talking about the electricity tariff, and then Genco's threatened force majeure if new electricity tariff is delayed. Beside that, Nigeria working towards meeting World Bank's FX education requirement. That is coming from Finance Minister, and that's all we have from the Business Day. Okay.
Finally, take a look at the This Day newspaper. With $2.8 billion, AKK gas pipeline, Buhari targets more jobs, technology transfer, inaugurates project. Above the picture, above the nameplate, challenges facing WTO not insoluble, says Okonjo Iweala. Lawan Bajabiamla lobby presidency to halt new electricity tariffs. That's on page 8 of This Day newspaper. 14 parties beat INEC nomination deadline for Edo governor election. That's on page 9 of This Day newspaper. And I'll take this final one. COVID-19 scare hits APC headquarters as Akeredolu tests positive. That's on page 8. You were reading another paper where they're saying he's forcing all his cabinet members.
That's one of the best steps to take.
Very, very best steps.
Most of them must have come in contact with him in the past few days,
and probably no one knows at what point in time he contracted the virus.
And for him to actually test positive to it, that means he must have been with this for the past 14 days. So anybody that must have had contact with him in the past 14 days actually need to go for testing.
Go for testing, though.
All right, that's all from the newspaper review segment of Daybreak Africa on Television Nigeria. We'll now take you to our next package, which is Healthy Living.
Yeah. Well, before we go on our next package, our question for yesterday was, how many bones are there in the human body? And we had quite a number of comments from our dearly beloved viewers. You want to... Okay. Let me read a comment coming from Raymond. Raymond Loho. He said, the adult human body or skeleton consists of 206 bones. Why use the phrase adult human? Well, I'll just take that comment. The adult human body or skeleton consists of 206 bones, and that was correct.
Wow. We have a whole lot of other people that sent in their comment, as really pointed out by MJ. And then we have from Samuel or Ladipo that says there are 206 bones in adult human body. Austin Ogebe Oche actually said 206 to 208 bones, while children has 300. So he's trying to tell us how many the adult has, and then how many the children have. Okay, and then Lewis Nazi. Okay, this is more like them maybe trying to come to terms with their answers. We have this interesting one here, but it's quite lengthy. I don't know on what ground he's basing his response or his comment, but let's take a look at it. That's coming from Atta Vincent, and he said, an adult human skeleton has a total of 213 bones, excluding the sesamoid bones, a small bone embedded within a tendon or muscles. The appendicular skeleton has 126 bones, as a skeleton 74 bones, and auditory osseous 6 bones. But there is also a variability in the number of bones in the human body, reason being that there are some humans which have a varying number of ribs, vertebrae, and digits. They vary in size, shape, strength to respond, and then to demand of performing delicate or gross tasks. Thus, for one opining that there's just no exact number of bones in the human body may also be accepted due to the variability, growth abnormality in real, and anything is possible. But if you go below that, if you go below that, he actually talked about, he gave props to another doctor. Maybe the doctor tell him something, and I saw him commented like, you may know better.
I know I won't do well if we won't do well if we do not acknowledge our top fan. That is Comrade Patrick, as he actually said there are 206 bones in the human body. Then
Alson Moses sent a comment to then Ajogo Black Lion or Koche Kete actually sent, and then Lovely Nwanko, we see your comment. Then big shout out to Austin Ogebe, which actually took his comment already.
Thank you very much for dropping your comment.
All right, question of the day.
Our question for today. All right, our question for the day is between the two, which is correct. I'm giving you a leadway, or I am giving you a leeway.
Which one do you feel is correct? Send your answers to our comment section, and then tomorrow we'll now look at people who send in comment and those who got it correctly.
Exactly. Well, we move to the next package on the program this morning on healthy living, sore throats.
To Healthy Living. My name is Amanda Uche. Today on Healthy Living, we will be discussing sore throat. What is sore throat? Sore throat is a painful inflammation of the mucous membranes. It can be a symptom of many conditions, but most often can be associated with cough or influenza. Sore throat may be caused by either viral or bacterial infections or environmental conditions. Most often, sore throats heal without complications, but should not be ignored as some develop into serious illness. Sore throats can be either acute or chronic. Acute sore throats are more common than chronic sore throat. They appear suddenly and last from 3 to about 7 days. Chronic sore throats last much longer and is a symptom of unresolved underlying conditions, such as sinus infection. What are the causes of sore throat? Sore throat can be caused by bacterial or virus infection or environmental conditions. Fewer sore throats are caused by bacteria than are caused by virus infection. The most common bacterial sore throat results from an infection by group A Streptococcus. This type of infection is commonly called strep throat. Anyone can get strep throat, but it is most common in school-age children. On the other hand, virus cause most sore throat. Cold and flu viruses are the main culprits. These viruses cause an inflammation in the throat, and occasionally the tonsils cold symptoms usually accompany a viral sore throat. This can include a runny nose, cough, congestion, conjunctivitis, and fever. The level of the throat pain varies from uncomfortable to excruciating when it is pain for the patient to eat, breathe, swallow, or speak. Not all sore throats are caused by infection. Postnasal drip can irritate the throat and make it sore. It can be caused by fever and other allergies that irritates the sinuses. Environment and other conditions such as breathing secondhand smoke, breathing polluted air or chemical fumes, or swallowing substances that scratch the throat. Sore throats caused by environmental conditions is not contagious. How can sore throat be transmitted? Sore throat transmission depends on the agent that is causing the sore throat. Viral and bacterial sore throats are usually passed in the same way as the common cold, sneezing, coughing, sharing drinking glasses, or in any other way germ particles can easily move from one person to another. Sore throats that are caused by environmental allergies cannot be passed from one person to another. How can sore throat be prevented? You can prevent sore throat by washing your hands and keeping them away from your eyes, nose, and mouth during the cold season. Breathe through your nose rather than your mouth. It's a natural way to humidify the air you breathe. Boost your immune system during the cold and flu season with vitamin and good nutrition. How can sore throat be treated? Effective treatment varies depending on the cause of the sore throat. Viral sore throat are best left to run their course without drug treatment. This is because antibiotics have no effect on viral sore throats. Regardless of the cause of sore throat, there are some home care steps that you can take to ease the discomfort. These include 1. Gargling with warm water. 2. Drinking plenty of fluids but avoiding acid juices such as orange juice, which can irritate the throat. 3. Eating soft, nutritious food. And 4. Resting until the fever is gone. However, see a doctor if the pain lasts more than a week. With this, we come to the end of this program. Thank you for watching.
Wow, that was healthy living on sore throat there. And see lots of bacteria that causes the sore throat. You wake up in the morning.
Still talking about the differences in the pain from maybe uncomfortability to excruciating pains and all. Sore throat at this era, this time,
it's not different from that though.
It's not funny at all because you know at that first instance when we had our index case of coronavirus and they were trying to make people understand how you could suspect if it's coronavirus, and then sore throat was mentioned as one of the symptoms, and everybody was actually checking his throat. Then you want to swallow every now and then to see
when you wake up in the morning, you're checking.
Can I swallow?
Can I swallow? Okay, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm fine. All right, let's go. That leads us to our next package, a documentary on life on the dump site.
While some persons have the freedom of space and comfortable livelihood, to some, the available becomes the desired. In a little landscape in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, is a dump site where some persons have made livelihood out of.
It is 20 years for this dump site. It is 20 years.
In order to make ends meet, a group of scavengers take it upon themselves to settle therein, making it their abode, since they are mistaken as thieves when they scavenge for recyclable items.
So instead of staying idle, doing nothing, all those cops will be coming around, looking at us, suspecting us, of, that kind of a thing. So we decided to come here and stay here so that we can protect our dignity and then to help the country again, instead of living in a bad, life. It's better we at least create something that will be earning to solve problems, at least to help our family.
In this community, there is a life just like every other settlement. In this site, 90% of the things used are recycled. There is shelter, food, water, shops, and smiles, even when the supplies are substandard. So those are the things you recycle, and this is where you stay?
This is particularly the place we live. We have some, the other side again.
Okay, let's take a look. So you actually used, you use nylon to build...
To bag them.
To build the... where you stay?
Yes, of course, yeah, we use nylon, all those, what do you call it, this tarpaulin.
Tarpaulin.
Yeah, of course.
And plywoods are not useful anymore.
Cartons.
So this is actually an aspect of recycling.
Recycling, of course.
Okay, this is the well. Is this where you drink from?
That's where we drink water from.
So this is the only source of water you have in here?
Yes. The president himself is going to look about this. Citizens. If it is in the night now, when people are far asleep, all those water will gather. You will see the color will change.
And to be clean?
To be cleaner than this, yes.
But this is what you drink?
That is what we drink. Like now, when I feel thirsty, I will just come here. No matter, I will just rely on God. All I need is carry me, and I will take it.
For shelter, unwanted flex banners, sack bags and plywoods, etc. are recycled to create an apartment. In the absence of cooking gas, rubber sleepers and other combustible items are used as fuel to create fire. Whenever garbage is brought in trucks, the inhabitants of the settlement sort and pack the valuables, either for recycling purpose or for exports.
Ana yin sababbin abubuwa da shi, cokula, baho da shauransu yana kaiwa 500 ga 600. Kudin mota? Kudin motai, kudin kayan. Kudin kayan da kai lodi na gaba da 600,000.
Sell it to companies?
Yes.
Valuables extracted from the garbage, especially metal scraps, are being measured and traded according to its weight for income.
There are few parts, like some of these parts, look at it. Some of the parts that are valuable to them, we used to give it out to them and collect some little.
Although they tend to be quite comfortable in this environment, in reality they are faced with health hazards, in as much as they are trying to salvage our environment by scavenging for recyclable materials and making life out of trash. It is pertinent for recycling companies, relevant authorities, to look into the safety of these people, at least where there is trash, light infrastructure and development.
Right, that was a documentary there on life at dump site. I actually watched a documentary some times ago, and they were talking about how children who happens to find themselves around this region actually grew up without proper training, and then they end up becoming something else. Then becoming something else in the society. I remember a particular one that seems to be so aggressive and so violent, and he was saying it started when he was much younger. And then he went and he didn't come back on time. His parents beat him and he decided to abscond from home. and he's been living on dump site. Even from the documentary, you heard somebody talk about he's been there for up to 20 years.
Yes, because even sometimes on the streets, I see people, the younger guys, you see them at the refuse, the dustbin, you see them picking one or two with a big sack, picking probably what they see that they might be able to eat, or what they see that they might be able to use or resell or recycle, and what have you. Anyway, our question for today still remains, I am giving you a leadway, or
I am giving you a leeway. Which one is correct?
That's correct. And our winner is going to be going home
with a copy of this.
From our able CEO, Integrity versus Power Play. It's a very powerful book.
Understanding the Buhari phenomenon.
Yes. You don't want to miss this question for anything. Our winner gets this book. Anyway, that's so much we can take today on Daybreak Africa here on television Nigeria. My name is Messi Joe.
And my name is Elvis Oga, saying thanks a lot for being part of the show. Join us tomorrow, same time, same place. Let's do this again. Until then,
it's a bye from us.